If you have ever looked at two people who are both around 80 years old and thought, how does one of them have deep lines everywhere while the other still has smooth, almost glowing skin? Then stay with me, because the answer is not what the beauty industry has been selling you for years. It is not one miracle cream. It is not one expensive serum. And no, it is not that some doctors are hiding a magic anti-aging trick in a locked drawer. The truth is much simpler than that, and in some ways much more powerful. It has to do with how the aging body holds water, handles minerals, protects collagen, and above all, how one very ordinary ingredient, salt, can either age your face faster or help preserve the softness of your skin when used the right way. Before we begin, please subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you never miss simple, science-backed health tips. Now let me say something important right from the beginning. This is not a video telling you to dump spoonfuls of salt into a gallon of water and expect your wrinkles to vanish by next Tuesday. That would be foolish, and for some people it would be dangerous. What I am going to show you today is much more interesting than that. Some seniors reach 80 with fewer visible wrinkles because they spent decades protecting the water inside their skin instead of constantly draining it away. They supported circulation. They avoided habits that destroy collagen. And they understood something most people never think about. Skin doesn't stay youthful just because of what you put on it. It stays youthful because of what your body can still do for it from within. And that is where salt comes in. Sodium, which is the key mineral in salt, is essential for life. Without it, your nerves don't signal properly, your muscles don't contract normally, and your body cannot regulate fluid balance the way it is supposed to. But here is the twist, and this is the part people miss. Too much sodium over time can stress the body, worsen blood pressure, and push you toward water retention in all the wrong places. Too little attention to sodium when you are dehydrated, sweating, ill, or undernourished can also leave you flat, dry, tired, and depleted. So the secret with salt is not more salt. It is the right relationship between salt and water at the right time, in the right amount, and in the right person. What I want to do in this video is count down the 6 biggest reasons some older adults seem to arrive at 80 with skin that looks softer, fuller, and less lined than their peers. And when we get to number 1, I'm going to show you how salt fits into the picture in a way that almost nobody explains clearly. It is not glamorous, it is not trendy, and it does not come in a gold jar for $129. But it may help you understand your skin better than a shelf full of anti-aging products ever has. And before we go further, tell me in the comments how old you are and what bothers you most right now. Deep forehead lines, those tiny mouth wrinkles, dry paper, thin skin, or that tired look that seems to appear even after a full night of sleep, because I really do want to know. Let's start at number 6, and this one matters more than almost anything else. The seniors who reach 80 with fewer wrinkles usually had a lifelong habit of protecting their skin from the sun. I know that is not as exciting as hearing about some mystical kitchen ingredient, but it is the truth. Wrinkles are not just about age. They are about accumulated damage. Year after year, ultraviolet light breaks down collagen and elastin, the very fibers that keep skin springy and resilient. And once those fibers are repeatedly damaged, the surface of the skin begins to crease, sag, roughen, and lose its bounce. You can inherit good genes, yes, but if your face has spent decades taking a daily beating from the sun, the mirror will eventually tell the story. Think about the older people you know who have unusually smooth skin. Very often they are the ones who wore hats, sought shade, gardened early in the morning instead of at noon, or simply never made a hobby out of roasting themselves in the heat. Their faces weren't fighting a silent collagen collapse for 40 or 50 years. And that is why some 80-year-olds look like they've aged gradually, while others look as if the aging process sped up all at once. Sun damage is sneaky. It does not always announce itself when you are 35. It may wait until your late 60s or 70s to show the full bill. So if you want fewer wrinkles from this point forward, do not underestimate simple protection. A wide, brimmed hat, shade, and daily sunscreen may not feel dramatic, but they are far more powerful than most people realize. Now number 5 is something many seniors feel, but don't always recognize, and that is plain old dryness. Not all wrinkles are true wrinkles. Some of what you see in the mirror are dehydration lines and surface creases made worse because the skin barrier is no longer holding moisture the way it once did. As we get older, the skin becomes thinner, less oily, less elastic, and much more prone to dryness. That means lines show up faster, small creases look deeper, and the whole face can take on that crinkled, tired appearance that makes people think they suddenly aged 10 years in one season. And if you live in dry air, take long hot showers, sit in heating or air conditioning all day, or drink too little fluid, you make that process even worse. This is why one older face can look dramatically softer than another, even when the two people are the same age. One person may simply be keeping more water in the outer layer of the skin, moisturizing the skin using gentle cleansers, avoiding very hot water, and drinking enough fluids can make fine lines look less obvious because hydrated skin reflects light differently and sits more smoothly on the face. It is a bit like the difference between a dried leaf and a fresh one. The structure underneath may be similar, but the appearance is completely different. So when people say, "She's 79 and barely has wrinkles," sometimes what they are really seeing is a face with a calmer, better hydrated skin barrier, not some supernatural resistance to aging. At number 4, we have something that becomes a bigger issue every decade after 6 the body's thirst signal gets weaker, but the need for water does not disappear. This catches so many older adults off guard. They are not intentionally dehydrating themselves. They just do not feel thirsty often enough, and by the time thirst arrives, their body is already behind. When that happens, skin can look duller, flatter, rougher, and more lined. The mouth feels dry. Energy dips, the urine gets darker. Sometimes there is dizziness, fatigue, even confusion. And because these symptoms can overlap with so many other things, people miss the pattern. They think they are just tired, or they assume this is normal aging, when sometimes they simply are not taking in enough fluid. Now, I need to be careful here. Drinking huge amounts of water is not the answer for everyone, especially if you have heart failure, kidney disease, or specific fluid restrictions. But for many seniors, small sips throughout the day work far better than trying to gulp down a giant glass all at once. A body in its 70s or 80s often handles steady hydration better than occasional flooding. And this matters for appearance as much as comfort. When the body is consistently underwatered, the skin often becomes rougher and less supple. The face can look drawn. Lines around the eyes and mouth can appear sharper. So one reason some seniors look smoother at 80 is very simple. They've spent years staying quietly, consistently hydrated instead of waiting for their body to scream for water after it is already depleted. Number 3 is nutrition, and specifically the quiet trio that supports skin structure better than most people think: protein, vitamin C, and overall nourishment. Here is what many people miss. Your skin is not a decoration placed on top of your body. It is living tissue. It is built, repaired, and maintained from raw materials you eat, absorb, and circulate. Collagen does not appear by wishful thinking. It requires amino acids from protein, vitamin C to help collagen formation, and a body that is not constantly inflamed, stressed, or underfeed. And when older adults lose appetite, eat mostly toast and tea, or start fearing whole categories of food, the skin often reveals that nutritional gap long before they realize what is happening. This is one reason some seniors in their late 70s still have that fuller look around the cheeks and less of that papery texture. They may not have eaten perfectly, but they consistently gave the bodybuilding materials: eggs, yogurt, beans, fish, lean meats, fruit, vegetables. Not glamorous, not sexy, but skin notices. So does wound healing. So does overall resilience. If someone spends years dehydrated, low in protein, low in vitamin C rich foods, and high in ultra processed snacks, the face tends to lose its firmness faster. But a senior who keeps nourishing the body, even with simple meals, is giving the skin a chance to maintain itself. And sometimes that is the difference you see when one 80-year-old looks collapsed and another looks soft, steady, and alive in the face. Now we move to number 2, and here the story starts to turn towards salt. The seniors who often look older than their years are not usually the ones sprinkling a tiny amount of salt on a home-cooked meal. More often, they are the ones living on hidden sodium from processed foods while barely drinking enough water to match it. That combination is brutal. Packaged soups, deli meats, Frozen dinners, crackers, sauces, fast food, these can drive sodium intake far higher than most people realize. And when sodium climbs but hydration does not keep pace, the body compensates, it holds on to water, strains the blood vessels, and over time that can burden the heart, circulation, and kidneys. A puffy face can appear one day, but paradoxically the skin itself may still look tired, irritated, and older over the long run, because high salt processed eating is not the same thing as genuine hydration. This is why the title of this video matters so much. Salt is not the villain by itself. The problem is the wrong salt in the wrong setting. Processed food salt comes attached to inflammatory eating patterns, low nutrient density, and poor fluid habits. That is not the secret. That is the trap. The seniors who often age better from the neck up and the rest of the body too tend to eat more fresh foods, fewer packaged foods, and a more natural amount of sodium. They are not in a constant cycle of overload followed by dehydration. That steadiness matters. Blood vessels like steadiness, skin like steadiness, energy like steadiness. So if you are thinking the solution is to just eat more salty snacks because they contain sodium, please do not fool yourself. That road leads in exactly the wrong direction. And now we come to number one, the real secret with salt. The secret is not high salt. It is strategic mineral balance. It is knowing that water does not work alone. It is understanding that on certain days, especially in older adults who sweat more, garden in the heat, walk for exercise, recover from mild illness, or simply do not eat very much, a little sodium with water can help the body use that water more effectively than plain water alone. That is the truth almost nobody explains in a calm way. We hear avoid salt on one side and drink more water on the other, but the body runs on balance, not slogans. When fluids and electrolytes are badly mismatched, you can feel awful and look drawn no matter how many glasses you force yourself to drink. Let me make this practical. If you are generally healthy and your clinician has not told you to restrict sodium because of high blood pressure, heart failure, kidney disease, or another medical issue, then there are times when a simple mineral supporting drink can make sense. For example, after working in the yard on a hot day, after sweating, or when you have had very little appetite and mainly taken in plain water, a glass of water with a squeeze of lemon and a very small pinch of iodized salt may help the body hold on to fluid more appropriately than plain water alone. Not a teaspoon. Not a salty brew that tastes like the ocean. Just a small pinch. The goal is not to cure wrinkles. The goal is to avoid that dried out, flat, depleted state that makes the face look older almost overnight, especially around the eyes and mouth. And here is why that matters so much for the older face. When the body is underhydrated, the skin barrier suffers, the surface looks rougher, and fine lines stand at attention. A well-hydrated face often looks calmer and smoother not because age has been reversed, but because the skin is no longer fighting from empty reserves. That is why some seniors seem to have remarkably soft skin even late in life. They are not necessarily doing something exotic. They are simply less likely to live in a cycle of chronic underhydration, hidden excess sodium, and poor nutrition. Instead, they have a steady rhythm. Drink enough, replace electrolytes wisely when needed, keep processed foods lower, and don't let their skin bake in the sun for decades. That combination is much more powerful than any "01 weird trick" headline. Now, some of you may be wondering, so should I start every morning with salt water? And my answer is, not automatically. Please hear me on this. For many people, especially if blood pressure is high or the kidneys are not strong, casually increasing salt is not wise. This is why the real secret is discernment. It is not adding salt blindly, it is noticing when your body is losing fluid, when you are only drinking plain water, when you are sweating, when you feel weak and dry, and when a small electrolyte boost makes sense. That is very different from turning salt into a daily anti-aging tonic. And I think that distinction matters because too many people swing from one extreme to the other. First, they fear salt entirely, then they start worshiping it as if it were a cure. Neither extreme serves you well. What really keeps an 80-year-old face looking better than expected is not a dramatic hack. It is a pattern. It is a body that has been protected more than punished. A body that has not been smoked through, sunburned through, dehydrated through, and ultra processed through for 40 years. Think of the skin like fabric. If you leave a good fabric in harsh sunlight, wash it in hot water, strip it of moisture, and never condition it, it frays much faster. But if you shield it, care for it, and keep it from drying out, it holds together much longer. Human skin is more complex than fabric, of course, but the principle is surprisingly similar. Some seniors do not look smoother because they found a miracle. They look smoother because the wear and tear came more slowly year after year. And there is another piece almost nobody talks about: stress. Poor sleep, constant worry. Those things may not create a wrinkle overnight, but they absolutely change the face over time. A tense jaw, shallow sleep, higher inflammation, more neglect of daily routines. All of it leaves an imprint. When you look at an older person with remarkably kind, soft-looking skin, you are often seeing a life pattern, not just a skin pattern. Perhaps they walked daily. Perhaps they cooked simple meals. Perhaps they drank their water, stayed out of the hardest sun, and did not chase every fad. Perhaps they moisturized consistently and kept their routine boring in the best possible way. Aging beautifully is often deeply unglamorous, and that may be why so many people miss how it really happens. So if I were to boil all of this down into one message for you today, it would be this: the secret with salt is that salt only helps your skin when it helps your hydration, and it only helps your hydration when it is used wisely. Too much salt ages. Too little awareness of electrolyte balance depletes. The sweet spot is balance. That is what the healthiest looking seniors often stumbled into naturally. They ate real food. They salted modestly. They drank enough fluids. They paid attention to heat, sweat, illness, and appetite. And they did not mistake processed food sodium for nourishment. That is a very different lifestyle from what many people live now, where the day begins with packaged food, continues with too little water, and ends with a face wondering why it looks 10 years older by dinner than it did at breakfast. If you want a practical daily approach, here is a simple one. Start with water earlier in the day instead of waiting until late afternoon. Sip, don't flood. Use a moisturizer every day on slightly damp skin. Protect your face from the sun even if you are just outside for a little while. Eat enough protein and include fruit or vegetables rich in vitamin C. Keep processed foods from becoming the backbone of your diet. And if you have a hot day, a sweaty workout, time in the garden, or a period where you have not eaten much, consider whether you need not just water but better hydration support, assuming your doctor has not told you to limit sodium. That is the place where a tiny pinch of salt may quietly help. Not glamorously, not dramatically, just physiologically, and sometimes that is exactly what the body needs. I also want to say this for those of you who look in the mirror and feel discouraged. Wrinkles are not a moral failure. They are not proof that you have done something wrong. Life leaves marks. Time leaves marks. Slaughter leaves marks. Sorrow leaves marks. The point is not to become 25 again. The point is to understand what still remains within your influence. And there is more within your influence than you may think. Softer skin, better hydration, less dryness, better barrier support, fewer dehydration lines, more comfort in your own face. These are realistic goals. You do not have to believe in fantasies to improve how your skin looks and feels. You simply need to work with your biology instead of against it, and that is often where the biggest change begins. So the next time you see an 80-year-old with remarkably smooth skin, don't assume it was luck alone. Maybe it was a little genetics, yes. But maybe it was also hats instead of harsh sun, water instead of constant dehydration, real meals instead of processed overload, calm routines instead of punishment, and perhaps, when necessary, just enough salt to help the body actually use the water it was given. That is the part almost nobody explains because it sounds too simple to sell. But simple does not mean weak. In fact, some of the most powerful shifts in the body come from humble things done consistently. And if you understand that now, you may change not just how your skin looks, but how your entire body feels over the next decade. If this video helped you, subscribe and stay with me, because we are going to keep cutting through the noise and getting back to what really matters for healthy aging. And in the comments, tell me this: when you first saw this title, did you think I was going to tell you to drink a giant glass of salty water every morning? Be honest. And also tell me your age And whether your biggest issue right now is dryness, deep wrinkles, puffiness, or that thin, creepy texture so many people notice after 60, I read those comments and they help shape what I make next. Until then, take care of your skin gently, take care of your body intelligently, and remember this aging is unavoidable, yes, but needless depletion is not. And sometimes the smallest habits are the ones that show up most clearly in the mirror.